Hello and welcome to Box Free with Stephanie. Today I want to show you how to make some basic foods with simple ingredients from scratch. And I hope you discover cooking box free is fast and delicious. So let's cook together. Today we're going to make pork pigtails, which luckily is not actually pork pigtails because I looked it up and it is like a real thing in the South, and they actually cook the pigtails, which I didn't know that was a thing. So I'm kind of glad I don't live in the South. So this is something that I actually discovered when I was visiting my niece Cecilia in Illinois. We went to a barbecue joint and they had these barbecue pork pigtails. And so I'm kind of copying their recipe. So I'm cheating today, totally cheating, because I'm using frozen French fries, which like I never have in my house. It's a little bit of a cheat today, and that's just the way it goes. So I'm gonna dump, you just kind of guesstimate how many French fries you want. You just fill up your pan and then just follow the recipe on the back, which is so strange to me. I've preheated my oven already to 425. That's what you need it for. So we're gonna put these in and I'm gonna set the timer for 25 minutes and then we're gonna check on them. And hopefully everything else we're making will be done in 25 minutes. Okay, so now we're gonna make stuff box free because that's usually how I cook. So now we're going to make our barbecue sauce and then we're going to make cheese sauce. So I think I got distracted on the whole pigtail thing. Pork pigtails are the curly fries covered with barbecue sauce. Well, no, first covered with like pulled pork and then covered with barbecue sauce and then covered with cheese sauce. So it's just a really yummy thing to eat. So we are going to make our homemade barbecue sauce. So for that, we're going to start with 1 cup of ketchup. And this is a recipe that, whoopsie, I've been using for quite a while. And I think this was basically, well, all my like condiments that I make from scratch are really kind of out of necessity. Because when you live in the country, you can't just like run to the store when you run out of something. So I probably needed barbecue sauce one day and didn't have any. So I looked up a recipe and I like this one enough. So I've been using it for quite a while. Okay, so in my little pan here, just put in, woo, that's hot already. 1 cup of ketchup, which really is our base to the barbecue sauce. And you can really make your own ketchup if you really want to make like scratch stuff. You can make homemade ketchup. I never have done that, I guess. Well, as I've said before on my shows, I've given up on like tomato products from scratch. I don't make my own spaghetti sauce. I hardly ever make my own salsa. Just seems like it's always a flop. So I've just given up. Okay, so then I'm going to do 1/4 cup of brown sugar. That's just a packed brown sugar right in there like that, and then it's just a bunch of other ingredients. So we're going to do garlic powder. I'm doing 1/2 tablespoon, which is 1.5 teaspoons, and whatever, if you go over a tad, doesn't really matter. So that's your garlic, a decent amount of that. Then you do 1 tablespoon, is that right? Yeah, wow, 1 tablespoon of onion powder. All right, like that. And then we're gonna do some Worcestershire. Okay, do you guys know it's Worcestershire and not like Worcestershire? I used to say that. Let's see, I think I'm gonna keep the lid on. Anyway, it's like New Hampshire. You say New Hampshire and you say Worcestershire. You don't say Worcestershire. Anyway, and then did you know that shire actually means like county in England? And this actually comes from the city of Worcester. And so that's in the county of, in the shire of whatever, maybe it's the shire. Anyway, my point is I'm trying to say that Worcestershire sauce comes from the county-like thing in England from this town called Worcester something. Anyway, it's not very much fun. I'm not doing a good job explaining it. So we're just going to move on. But it is kind of a cool thing to think, whoa, I should have shaken that. Whoopsie. This is, I'm not even telling you my ingredients, I'm sorry. Half a tablespoon of garlic, and then we did 1 tablespoon of onion, and then I did 2 teaspoons. Did I do 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire? Wow, I did that while I was talking. Okay, that's good enough. And then 1 tablespoon of Dijon, and then you need, this is my apple cider. I need 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. 1, 2, 3, and I try not to overdo it on the vinegar. I have discovered that if like I put too much in, then it's just like, woo, like so tangy. And then molasses is like the trick ingredient, the secret ingredient that just makes it really yummy. Oh my gosh, I can't get Grandma's open. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, and I take, how much? 1 tablespoon of molasses. Woo! A little bit extra today. That's okay. All right, and I got to get all that good stuff off my spoon here because I love molasses. All right, so that's kind of it. I mean, it seemed like I didn't know what I was doing and being distracted, but I think barbecue sauce is really easy to make. And then I actually have liquid smoke, and sometimes I do add some of that, but I don't ever do it until I've kind of tasted this to see if I think it needs it. I don't know. You know, I follow my recipe every time, but it also seems like it tastes different every time. Just probably because I'm not like a perfect cook and I don't really measure everything like so perfectly and exact every single time. So like today we're getting a little extra molasses, and the other day I might get a little more brown sugar. Oh, you know, that is one thing. I do add brown sugar. Like if I taste it and it just seems like way too vinegary or like, ooh, too tangy, then I will add a little bit of brown sugar. Plus, my husband does like a sweeter barbecue sauce. Well, and so I do too, really. I don't know. So yeah. And my point is you can just kind of like add to this whatever you think it needs. So I haven't added any salt, and that's not on my recipe. And I think it's just because everything else is already so salty. So I'm going to try to get this to bubble up for a second, and then we're going to make the cheese sauce. So I'm going to wash this really quick while I'm waiting for my stuff to bubble. Okay, we are back, and it's like making a huge mess, so we got some bubble action going on already. I'm going to tone this down. Okay, so now what you do to make this, like if you were just making this, well, we're just making it right now. You want to cook it kind of to get it to boil, mostly just to get it hot enough to kind of blend everything together really quickly. And then you can serve this as quickly as 5 minutes. Like if you needed to serve it right now, you could. But I've got another 16 minutes, so I'm going to just let this simmer. But I need my little stove here, so I'm going to put it back here on my stove back here. And just let it simmer here and hopefully get all the flavors together. And I'm not even going to bother tasting it yet because I just don't think it's going to be ready. But I do want to clean up my crazy mess here. Okay, so that looks better. All right, so now we are going to make cheese sauce, which I make cheese sauce all the time. And I always make it from scratch. It just seems like a really easy thing to make. So I do this same recipe pretty much for my macaroni and cheese and anything I need cheese sauce for. Hang on, I hear bubbling. Gotta turn that down. Okay, so you're gonna basically make a roux, and then you're gonna add your milk, and that makes your sauce. So to start a roux, you start with your butter. And so I'm making a small portion today. When I make like for mac and cheese, I do like 3 cups of milk, but today I'm just doing a very small portion. So today I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of butter. So that's like 1, 2. I'm gonna call that good in there. And you want this to melt, so I might need to wait a minute to get that all melty. Once this melts, then you add the same amount of flour. So we just did 2 tablespoons of butter, so I'll do 2 tablespoons of flour. And I need a little bit of salt. I need like a 1/4 teaspoon, which we'll just call that good. Okay, so and you need a really good whisk for this. Whisking is very important when you're making cheese sauce. So I'm going to get my butter to melt here. Make sure this isn't creating a big mess. It is a little bit. So this really just needs to simmer. So it doesn't need to boil like it is going crazy right now. You just really want it to simmer. Okay, so this is almost ready, but you can't add your flour until it's all melted. Okay, so, and then this, once we add our milk, then we wait for it to thicken, and then we'll add our cheese. So this is almost ready. Okay, so 2 tablespoons of butter, so 2 tablespoons of flour. Okay, so that's 1. And I guess I try to measure this, but it's not like perfect all the time. But you want it to be relatively accurate for this. Okay, then you want this to get all stirred nicely together. And then I've seen like different people. Some people really cook, this is called the roux. It's a French word. They cook this for like 3 to 5 minutes. And then other people don't cook it at all. And so I kind of go back and forth. It maybe depends on how much of a hurry I am. But I think you definitely want your flour like blended into your butter really well. And then this becomes your thickener. So you can make cheese sauce with cornstarch. But I don't know, I don't like that recipe as much because cornstarch can sometimes give you that, I don't know, like almost fake thickness taste, where this is just kind of a very nice, I don't know, nice taste. I like it. So you kind of want your roux to bubble like it is there. That's kind of what you're looking for. I think that's the purpose of waiting those 2 or 3 minutes. And then you almost get a skin on the bottom of your pan, which if you're making pudding, that's a bad sign. Like then you don't want that, you don't want the skin to stay there because it would eventually start burning. So now this is really nice and hot. So I'm going to add 1 cup of milk, and it's really important to stir as you're pouring because otherwise you can get a gloppy sauce, and you kind of pour slowly. And usually I almost stop and give myself a second to like get all of the buttery flour stuff in there. And I try to just do a little bit of the milk to make sure that I don't have any giant chunks. So now I don't see any clumps of flour, so now I'm going to add the rest of my milk while I'm stirring. And then that should pretty much guarantee me that I don't have any lumpy sauce or whatever. Flour is a really nice thickener, but you just have to be careful with it. Okay, so now we're going to have to just wait. I like to stir it up really good to make sure like all my roux is mixed into my milk. And if you were making a gravy, like you would totally just make it like this. Instead of milk, you would add chicken broth or whatever, or chicken drippings or whatever. So this is basically just how you make any kind of sauce. Okay, so now we're going to wait for this to basically come to a boil, and as it comes to a boil, it should thicken. I'm going to throw this in the fridge really quick. I better stir this really quick. That's looking all right. It's not getting too crazy anymore. Okay, now I need to get my cheese ready because once my sauce is thickened, then I add my cheese. So before I do my pork, I want to get my cheese ready so that it's like ready to go right when that's ready. Okay, so for this, I'm going to do 1.5 cups of cheese, and I just do cheddar, like medium cheddar. And when you're making cheese sauce, it's really important to not buy grated cheese, because grated cheese has like an anti-caking substance put into it so that in the bag they don't get all stuck together, and then you can't get a nice thick sauce. Well, I mean, I suppose you can, but freshly grated cheese is just much better. And I need 1.5 cups. And so I suppose I should measure. I'm just going to grate some and see how much that is, and then see if I need to add some more. So let's see here. Okay, so that's 1 cup. All right, so I'm going to do just a little bit more because this is probably close to 1/2 cup, but I always feel like you can never really have too much cheese in your cheese sauce. So I'm just going to do a couple more here. And then that's probably pretty close to 1.5 cups. So we're going to set this over here and let that just wait for our cheese sauce. And you do want to stir your cheese sauce often, just to make sure that's not burning on the bottom. And I don't know if my little pan is working very well, but okay. Now we're going to work on our pork. So let me just put this away quick. All right. So I don't even know how many pounds it was. Shoot, I don't know, probably a 3-pound pork roast in here. So this has been cooking for like 10 hours. I mean, it's been like a super slow cook, which should make it just beautiful. So we'll see. So I'm going to take it out of here, and this was just a plain, I think it was called a sirloin roast or whatever. But they say like a pork shoulder or a pork butt is kind of the best thing. But for some reason I didn't see one at the store, so I just didn't get one. Okay, so now we are going to shred our pork, which would be just like making pulled pork. I'm basically making pulled pork. And we're going to see how it goes. Now in theory, when I cut into this little thing, it should just like fall apart and be like super easy. Actually, I'm going to test it out. So here's my bone right here. I'm going to kind of flip this over, and then this should just like fall right out. Okay, that's not so bad. So we'll see if this falls out. Oh, here's my big bone. Okay, that's a good sign. You want your pork to be so tender that it really does just flake away like that. Now I'm going to just put that right into my bowl. So that's a nice sign. And see if I can get my big bone out of here. Oh, that's good. Okay. So a slow, low cook is what you want. And there's your big bone. Okay, now I have this, and I'm just going to shred it. So hang on, I gotta stir my stuff here. When you're making pulled pork, you just cook your meat and then you just shred it with a fork. So, and I'm gonna shred this whole thing because I don't know how much I'll need on my platter there, but I want all of this shredded anyway because I'll just make pulled pork with it later if I have any extras. And if you have like big chunks of fat that you see, you can certainly pull those off. This one didn't seem to have too much of that. Hang on, let's see, how can I do this? I should get a big spoon so I'm a little more sanitary. So all this I'm considering done. Like, I'm not going to shred it to be like, this is a little bit big, I guess, but I don't want like these itty bitty pieces, you know, you just want it, I think, kind of like that, you know, just something that you could get a bite of, but not, you don't want it like disintegrated, you know, teeny tiny chunks. So you just basically take your 2 forks and you just start at one end and you just kind of rip it apart, rip towards your fork. And if it's cooked nice and slow and it's a nice chunk of meat, it really should shred like that and be really easy. Okay. So we just have to pull this apart. And I have to just say, this is all in honor of Cecilia. I'm making this for you, Cecilia, because that pulled pork, the pork pigtails were so good when we came to visit you. My cousin, she's my niece. My niece Cecilia used to come up here for like her summer vacation, like every summer. For most of her teenage years, probably like 6 or 7 years she came up, and we always had so much fun. So I'm finally making something that I discovered with her. Oh, this is really messy. That's all right. Oops, I need to stir my stuff. Oh, forgot. Okay, and it was bubbling, so that's good, and it's getting thicker. So I'm going to try to remember as soon as I'm done with my pork here. Oh, can you see how thick this stuff is? Wow. See, like, it's like magic. It just totally thickens up once you get the boil. So we want to add our 1.5 cups of cheese to our cheese sauce. And I usually just add all of it at once, because at this point it doesn't really matter. Where'd that one go? Oh boy, can't get it. Okay, get that off of there. And then you just stir this, and then the hot sauce melts your cheese, and then that's it. It's kind of done. So it takes time. It does take like the 15 minutes or 10 minutes, but it's not very hard. It's just a lot of stirring and remembering to stir often. But that's it. I think cheese sauce is really easy to make, and it's a really good thing to have in the fridge for leftovers. I've used this for like tortilla chip dip, and what else do I do? Like, obviously mac and cheese, like over vegetables or baked potatoes. So it's a very diverse cheese product. I'll say that. Okay, we're gonna let that sit for a second. I'm gonna finish my pork. And I've just got barely any time left. I feel like I'm under the gun to make it in time for my French fries. But this is really nice and tender. This is looking lovely in my opinion. So if you were making pulled pork, you would just add your barbecue sauce right to that, and there's your pulled pork. So, hey, I'm doing a show on pulled pork at the same time. All right. This is the top probably, I think, where it's a little bit drier, because it was just sitting in my crock pot. And you can bake it. If you don't have a crock pot, you can just bake it slow for whatever, 4 hours or something. But crock pots are handy too. Okay, so now I'm going to dump all this in here. And so, see, I really do have a lot of big chunks. So if you don't want that, just shred it further, you know, more. I just kind of like the bigger chunks, I guess, which maybe for this recipe isn't such a great idea, because it's like a well, that doesn't have to be a hands-on food, but maybe it'd be better to have the smaller chunks. But I just feel like every time I cut up meat and then I'm stirring it or something, it just gets so like little, but it gets disintegrated kind of by the time you're ready to eat it, and I don't want that. Okay, so now I need to taste everything. I need to taste my cheese sauce. My pork I know is good, but I feel like I want to put the lid on it just to keep any kind of heat in there that I can. So I need to taste, I don't want to use that. All right, so I'm going to taste this. And what you're tasting this for is to see if it's got enough salt, because when you make stuff from scratch, it just takes a lot of salt. I think I will just add a little bit more. Cheese sauce you want to be really nice and like salty, you know, so, but it is really nice and thick. So I'm going to say that's ready. I should taste it one more time. I'm going to double dip here, but that's okay. It's for my family. Okay, that definitely helped. Then I'm going to check my barbecue sauce, because I haven't tasted this at all. So we're going to really hope that this is like beautiful, because now my stuff is done. Hopefully it doesn't need much more. But even if it does, you can just add it and still eat it right away. It's perfect. It's tangy. Okay, so I can't decide if I want to add liquid smoke. But I don't think I'm going to, because this is a barbecue pork thing, so I'm not going to do the smoke. Okay, so we are almost ready to assemble. So let me just make some room, and then we're going to assemble and serve, and it's really yummy. Okay, so this is really messy, but that's okay. So I'm going to pull out my French fries, top it with my pork, top it with my sauce, and then with my other sauce. So let me just get this out of the way. Oh wait, okay, I need those, this. Just want to have everything ready. And I think I need another spatula. Okay. And this can start to get like the skin across the top of it. So you just kind of stir that in, you know, like any kind of creamy sauce, pudding and stuff does the same thing. It's okay. All right, so now we're going to grab our French fries and make our pork pigtails. Woo! They're sizzling. Okay. Looks just like when I put them in the oven. Imagine that. Okay. There's no change there. All right, so now I'm gonna take my pork, and I think I'm just gonna, boy, I feel like I needed more fries, like all these little open spots, but I guess I just wanna grab with my hands. Is that okay? I guess so, I don't know. I mean, I could do a fork, but it's like when you're making nachos and you wanna put everything like in a specific spot. So, but chefs always wash their hands before they're cooking, don't they? So we should be all good. So I kind of load it quite a bit with meat. I mean, when I was with Cecilia, I thought that I got a decent chunk of pork on my stuff. Oh, and actually the restaurant I was at had like brisket and one other meat. I don't know, maybe chicken. I don't know what else they serve at barbecue. But they had different meat options anyway, and I picked the pork. Okay, so now I'm going to add my sauce. Okay, and we're just going to, let's see. Boy, I'm going to try to do this so you guys can see it a little bit better. But you just pour it over, basically all over in little rows like this, so that basically every bite has some barbecue sauce. And the reason you want to like serve this right away is because all these kind of saucy things could make your French fries a little bit soggy and stuff. So, okay. So look at, I'm going to save this amount of barbecue sauce with that amount of pork, and I'll have pulled pork barbecue tomorrow. Like, that's pretty handy. Okay, so put that there, and now the final topping of cheese sauce, and that's it. Here we go. Yum, it's looking so good. So now I'm going to go where I didn't put the barbecue sauce, in the little rows where I left it plain, so that then hopefully it actually looks striped and you can see the red barbecue sauce with the yellow cheese sauce, and it just looks kind of cool and pretty. You know, if you can make your stuff look cool, I always figure it's worth it. So then you can just go as crazy as you want. Like, I think I'm going to call that good. Look at how cool and striped that is. Oh my gosh, that turned out so nicely. How fun. Okay, that's it. There's your pork pigtails. So now I'm going to take a bite. So I think when I was with Cecilia, we ate this with our fingers, but this is like a really hot pan, and this was we got ours from a restaurant, so it would like cool down. So I'm going to take this bite right here with the fries and the barbecue sauce, and oh, it's probably going to be like super hot, isn't it? Whew. Okay, this is a really big bite to be taking on the show, but we'll see how it tastes here. Yum. I love barbecue sauce, so you could pretty much put anything with barbecue sauce, and I think it was great. But this really is good. Okay, so there are your pork pigtails. So thank you very much for watching Box Free with Stephanie. I hope you liked the show. I really do hope you make pork pigtails and your family thinks they're just delicious and taste like summer from the barbecue joint. So thank you for watching. I appreciate your time, and I will catch you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.